Hello, my wonderful doll-loving friends. I'm Annie, and this is Annie's Playhouse. So I thought we'd get into some Halloween fun today. I've been asked quite a bit about my backdrops and my dioramas, and I know most of you comment on how much you enjoy them, so I'm going to keep doing that because I enjoy it as well. And I thought maybe we'd do a little Halloween diorama together so that you can kind of see my process and, how I put things together. So I am going to start with this backdrop behind me. I never or very seldom spend more than $15. They're usually around the $10, $11, $12 range. And I do order them through Amazon because they carry a bunch of different companies. And different companies have different things that, might suit my fancy. So basically I go on Amazon and then I just sort of punch in, in this case, spooky cemetery photo backdrop, maybe that. And then out comes a couple things, and then you have to keep poking around because sometimes they don't pop up right away, or maybe I'll change the wording a little bit if I can't find just what I want. This one behind me, I think, is pretty good. I think that the gravestones might be a little bit out of Barbie scale. I think it is tough sometimes to find exactly the right, the right size of things. I always order the 3 feet by 5 feet because it fits my armature really well. So I'll just show you a little bit more. And then this one is vinyl. I prefer getting the polyester fabric because it's easier to iron. But this one I found the other day that it works really well with a steamer. So I'm going to do that right now. This is the steamer that I use. It's just a little portable one. And I am going to show that right now. So see these creases that come in here? And, well, I don't know if it's doing that so well today. But they say that you can iron, these, but I have not had good luck with that. Ironing seems to warp them, but the steam seems to work really well. And then, of course, if you miss a few, you can Photoshop them out. But it's much easier to start, it's much easier to start with the nice flat backdrop. Now, if yours is such that it's actually stretched on there, I think it works better. Okay, so as you can see, it is a little bit tricky. I did spill some water, which, it'll dry. So once I have my diorama backdrop the way I want it, I have to think about how to cover this wooden table. So I am going to be placing down this, it's originally from Model Railroad. It's that kind of grass. The color was a little bit better than other grasses I have for this particular backdrop, even though it's not quite right because it's sort of bluish, but I think it'll do fine. And then I sort of center it wherever I am going to be doing most of the filming or the doll unboxing, so that while it doesn't cover the whole table, it at least covers the part that I think is going to show on camera. And then there is, of course, tabletop showing on either side. So I often take something like scrapbooking paper, even though it's maybe not the perfect color green. I do put it down because it will help just in case the camera goes a little bit off, or it just adds a little bit more protection for me to kind of go off. Like I think I see in that corner a little bit that's not covered. So I'll be sure to do that. But I put the paper down more on this side. So once I have the tabletop the way I want it, I started adding something to break up the sort of the area between the backdrop and the ground. It's often needs a little bit of camouflaging. So I grabbed some of these greens that I have. I think I showed you in one of my other videos, I think I entitled it, I put dioramas on every surface or in my house, something like that. I'll link it to, down below so that you can see it, because I literally do that. Like any surface that is available is apt to have some kind of diorama on it. But I store stuff there. So I have a diorama on my, above my china cabinet that stores all the trees and the greenery and that sort of thing. So I can just grab it from there without having to go hunt through bins or anything like that. And in addition to the greenery that I'm going to place here in this sort of corner, I'm sure there's a word for this. It's not quite the horizon, but whatever that is. There we go. See, that adds a little something. I am going to add this really cool tree that I have. Now, you might not be able to see it really well. I'm going to just kind of raise the camera a little bit like that, so you can see the tree a little bit better. And then, as you can see, I also have Alphaba up here. She's suspended from this armature. I'm going to show you what the armature looks like. So like that. That is attached to the rod that is holding up my backdrop. And then it sort of comes out as far as I wanted to. It's got an arm over there that is flexible, so I can move her around if I want to. But I like this angle. She's not showing her face because I want her to be kind of creepy for this scene. Alphaba's a little bit too cute. I don't really want her to show, but you can see she's got green hands and green legs, so that's as much as I want to show. So I'm going to now straighten out the camera a little bit more, but as you can see, that already kind of looks cool. So this moss is hanging from this tree. You know how in Louisiana area, they have very fancy tombstones, and they also have a lot of this kind of hanging moss hanging from trees. So I thought that it gave it that kind of look. I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to put this back down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing down here. So now I've added the greenery, and see, I have a little bit more of it. This is kind of cool. It's a juniper. It's from a juniper berry bush, but it's something I purchased. It has a really cool color, and it sort of blends the color a little bit better than the bright green to this sort of bluish background. So I think that that's going to be really great there. And then I'm going to just add this back here in case that shows. And then a little more of that green. And the other day I took a walk and I found this kind of interesting pieces of rock. I don't really understand what kind of rock this is. My earth science class was a very long time ago. But it came from a large rock, and it sort of like was peeling off in layers like this, but so cool. So I grabbed some of these because I thought it would be really nice to have as sort of just little spots of interest here and there. The cemetery seems like it's all a lot of vegetation, but I love these kind of rocks that just add some interest, and it can cover up, sometimes it covers up stems that you don't want to show, so I use them in a number of ways. So I just am putting them willy-nilly here and there just to break things up a bit. And I also don't want the tree base to show, so I have to be conscious of that. Okay, so that kind of gives me a little bit of a base. Then I have two of my most treasured Halloween items. These gargoyles. I absolutely love these guys. I picked them up randomly. I paid $2.99 each for them, it looks like. And it doesn't, does it have a date on it? Not really. But I know that it was literally decades ago that I picked these guys up. But I love them for things like this. They're spooky. They're just sort of, I don't know. It's like, they're really neat. And they come in handy in castles and in graveyards and all kinds of things. And in that same drugstore that I picked those up, I got these tombstones or gravestones. They're really, really cool. So they have all kinds of Halloween kind of stuff on it. But I think for this scene, I want it to be more just like a regular gravestone. So I am going to use that side. But, you know, sometimes I use the other side depending on what mood I'm in, I guess. But they are super cool. I love them. I love these kind of little treasures that I collect through the years. Oh my God. You know, the more stuff you have, the harder it is to store. But as much as I'm struggling with space, I absolutely adore my stuff. So, I did mention this little, whatever this is, a ghost, a ghoul, skeleton, whatever it is. I've had that for a while. I picked that up kind of recently, maybe a couple of years ago, also from a drugstore. Now he's hanging kind of low. I could put him up higher, but I kind of like it there because it's going to show on photos. So I think I might leave him there. And it's, you know, kind of seems like he might be just, being raised from the dead from one of these tombstones, so I think he's kind of cool. I think he's good there. And he's got a little bit of flexibility in his arms. He's got a little wire, so you can move it around. And then this is another ghoul that, it was like a ghoulish scarecrow that I did show in my, I think when I made Elphaba's broomstick, I used his, let's see, I'll raise this up again so you can see it. When I made Elphaba's broom, I used the scarecrow's legs, or one of them, for this part of the broom. So that's what happened to him. He sort of lost his legs there, but he's still cool. He's very, very creepy, but I think he's going to look really good. Let's see, I think I might put this gargoyle up front and this stone in the back. And then this guy can be sort of crawling out from there or hanging out. He's also got these really cool shrouds. So I think that looks really neat. And then also things like this. This is a piece of driftwood, but, you know, look for stuff like this. I love natural items that, you know, just make my diorama look a little bit more real. This is also good to get into the crease of the backdrop. It sort of adds a little interest. So wherever we put this, it doesn't matter. It's going to look cool no matter where it goes. Okay, and then the other thing I have is I have sheets of moss that I keep on hand. And this is perfect to break up the sort of, you know, smoothness of the regular grass that I might have. And this adds a much more, you know, tactile and realistic sort of grassiness. Let's see, this big piece maybe should go here. Let's see. Maybe this way. It looks more like a, you know, like just old grass and worn and just unkept. Okay. Let's see, do I need this here somewhere, or are we good without it? It's a little bit too close to the other ones, I think. Let's move this one in the back. So you just kind of play with it, and I just kind of move things around till I feel like I'm happy with it for one reason or another. Okay, that's kind of cool. I have a little sort of, it's interesting, and oops. Okay. You okay there, buddy? Okay. Okay, that's looking good. Let's move this camera down a little bit so you can see a little bit better. See, it's just sort of covered up that bright green part of the grass. So it makes it look a little bit older and kind of more interesting. And then I have Spanish moss, and that's what's hanging from this tree. So I'm going to add a little bit more to the tree, add to the creepiness a little bit. There we go. And then I am going to add some to the diorama itself. Let's pull some out. And then I'm going to just spread it out. And here again, it's just breaking up that bright green a little bit, making it a little bit more spooky, and sort of, yeah, the color is good. Of course, it's making a giant mess. You have to have a vacuum cleaner on hand, of course. But I think it looks really good. So this way, if the if the grass comes through and shows, great, here and there, but it's going to be more of this moss and less of the grass. And then also right where I'm, let's see, you can't quite see that, where I'm switching over from the grass to the scrapbook paper, I'm also putting some of that to just break that up. Like I said, I don't think this scrapbook paper is going to show at all, but just in case it does during videos. Now, for photography, it's a lot easier because you don't really need so much space. For photography, probably like 14 inches by, 15 inches is more than enough for a diorama. But for shooting my videos, I like to have the space to be able to unbox the dolls and talk about them and all that and move things around. And I want that to look really wonderful and professional. So that's why I have this sort of larger space. Now that's looking pretty good, I think. So I'm going to just move the camera back a little bit so you can kind of see a little bit more. Let's see over here. We can break that up a little bit more. I think that's looking pretty good. And move the camera up so you can see the tree and the witch. I think that's pretty good. So even though a lot of these tombstones in the back or they're memorial, I guess they're memorials, they're very elongated and big. It's fine that down here it's short. It still gives a cool, spooky background. And when I go further up, the sky is really amazing. It's really, really good. Another thing you could do, or I could have done, I could have brought my armature down and started it maybe 6 inches lower, because of course they have, let's see, I think you can see it over there. See, they have controls where you can make it taller or shorter if you want. And I could have made it shorter so that these tombstones would, so this is where the sort of horizon or that break would be. And then the tombstones would be a lot shorter and I would be showing more of that spooky sky. So it just really depends. I happen to like it like this right now, but there's many different ways you can do it. And then I also forgot to mention when I purchase them, what I do when I see them online in Amazon, what I do is I picture, they show the size of it and they show the rectangle. So I pick the 3x5, so it's going to be 5 feet across and 3 inches in, not inches, feet, 5 feet wide and 3 inches 3 feet, I'm so sorry, 3 feet tall. So then I know that's 36 inches we're talking about in height. So when you look at the perspective of whatever is on there, whether it's tombstones or whether it's buildings or an interior of a building, what I do then is I actually go to my computer screen and I'm picturing, okay, so if it's 3 feet tall, that means it's like 3 times 12 inches. Now, some of that is going to be wrapped over the top of the armature, but what I picture is my Barbies and Kens, which are between 11 or like 10 and a half or 11 inches to 12 inches. Like I think the Ken dolls are about a foot tall. So I picture that rectangle that I'm looking at, that image, I picture 3 Barbies or 3 Kens on top of each other to see where they would stand in that scene. So sometimes the foreground looks a little like off, or maybe I won't be able to use it, but then I picture what it would look like laying down on my table and covered up, so that the image that would show maybe is going to be 2 feet and not 3 feet. And it sort of helps me figure out what the perspective would be, or what it's going to look like when I'm actually filming or photographing a scene. So that's an important thing. Okay, so now I'm going to go show you this part again, the ground level. See where my table ends there? You can see the end, see? And when I'm filming, I make sure that I'm covering that part up so that you guys are only looking at this part. So like that. And I sort of find my favorite area. And you know, what I decided, I don't really like this big piece here. I think it's a little bit too much of a good thing, sort of. So I think I'm going to break this up a little bit more with smaller pieces of this moss. Maybe I want a little bit of that green to show more. It'll be more interesting. And then this larger piece can come over here. And then also, if I'm unboxing dolls or something, I want to make sure I have a flat surface that the doll can actually stand on later. So that's something else to keep in mind. Sometimes that grass that I use, which is, let's see, do I have it here? I have this kind of cool grass runner that I use. Oopsie. That I use a lot. This one, it comes in a roll like this, and you can get this at Easter time at the dollar store, or you can order it from Amazon. Just make sure that it's from a reputable dealer, because some of them really smell and are toxic, and you cannot have it in your house. But this one has absolutely no smell at all. But this one I got at the dollar store. But anyway, that grass is just really hard. Like the Barbies don't want to stand on them. No matter what kind of stand I use, they're not really happy. They topple over a lot. So just keep that in mind, that, you know, when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure that you can tuck the doll somewhere. And, you know, I think for some reason I like this better. I find it to be a little bit more interesting. And then a couple little props. I don't want any bright orange pumpkins or anything, but these pumpkins I think would be nice and very seasonal. And I think that the little bit of orange showing is good. So do I want 2 next to each other? Maybe. Okay, that's good. And then I've got a couple of cool skulls. This one actually has his head bashed in. Like, oh my gosh, what happened to this poor guy? But I think a couple of skulls are very appropriate in a place like this. So I'm going to have those around. I think that's cool. Let's put this little gargoyle back because he's very cool. All right. Okay, I think that's kind of it. So that's my process. That's what I do. And then, of course, what's missing is the Barbie doll. So I'm using this gorgeous Roots girl, and I dressed her in this really fun gown that I got off, oh gosh, it might have been Etsy. I think it might have been Etsy, but it's this velvet dress that fits really well. I did not do a review on this. I think I got it before I did my YouTube channel, but these arms are amazing. and they just slip on. They're separate from the rest of it. But she looked to me like one of those really sad brides, like she might be a ghost bride, or, you know, maybe her fiance died and she got left at the altar on her wedding night, and she's been mourning ever since. So if you don't want to use a doll stand for your photos, it can be tricky to stand them sometimes, or you could lean them up against something. Sometimes that works, like maybe if I put her by this tombstone, that will help hold her up a little bit. And I like her side eye for something like this because it sort of makes her look a little bit spookier, kind of. Now, I do have a really cool outfit coming, whoops, that it just isn't here yet. And I'm going to be redressing her in that. So she's going to be a real amazing sort of ghost bride. You know, we all missed out on that, was it the Haunted Beauties, I think, series that Mattel had a while back. They were amazing. You know, at the time, I didn't quite, you know, see the value of getting them. And, you know, we kick ourselves afterwards because what would I do to have them now? But, you know, we have to create our own if we weren't lucky enough to get them. And, you know, they're kind of priced out of range for me now, but I can definitely create my own. So here's our little beauty. Now for photographs, what I have to do is put on magnifying glasses so that I can make sure that there's no crazy hairs out of place, so I don't spend my whole life photoshopping hairs out. And then maybe this little veil thing. She's not really that stable. I don't think I have good shoes on her. There she goes. You know, that's really important too, to put good shoes on them if you want them to stand up straight. So this kind of, whoops, there she goes. Yeah, maybe I should put her on a stand and not deal with that. But I kind of don't want the stand to show on photos. So, but her hair is cool. She looks sad. She's got the perfect look for something like this. So that's it in a nutshell. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to, of course, post some photos at the end. I'm probably going to move this around a little bit and have some photos of her as well as just the scenery. And here we go. Please stand up, sweetheart. Please stand. Oh, you look so amazing. Thank you. Okay, there she goes. I love her. And she looks sad. Oh, I'm sorry I moved you. Okay, there we are. So this is it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had fun. I certainly did. And like I said, there'll be some photos after this, after I sign off. So please take care of yourself and those you love. And I send you my love. Please enjoy your hobby as much as I enjoy mine, and I'll see you next time. Whoops! There she goes. All right. You've got to stand for the photos. You do.